Welcome to Washington East to West Sports, and this is a milestone. This is episode 100. I am Matt Beatty, joined alongside, as usual, by Sean Beatty and Kevin Arledal. If you want to get involved in the show, go ahead and tweet us. I am at Beatty_Matt. Sean is Sean_Beatty. Kev is at SEA to believe. That is C to believe on Twitter. Follow us on YouTube, subscribe to us, tell us what you think in the comments below of all the topics we talk about. It was a big night in Seattle this past Saturday with three teams playing at the same time. And we're going to do a good news, bad news, good news sandwich with this one. So we're going to start with the Seattle Sounders. And the Seattle Sounders were at home and they were taking on Minnesota and they won 1-0. Not it's soccer, so it's not going to be a barn burner generally, but they did win 1-0 over Minnesota United. Sounders have had a decent month in April. They were 2-1 against the LA Galaxy at the beginning of the month. Then they Why did I get an ad right in the middle of that? Thank you, advertisers. Seattle Sounders won 3-0 against St. Louis City. Right after that, then they lost big to the Portland Timbers the next week, 4-1 in Portland, but bounced back like we mentioned this past Saturday with a 1-0 win against Minnesota United. So, Sean, have you been watching any Seattle Sounders soccer, and what have you thought of them this past month?
It's been hard this because everybody's playing at the same time. I only have so many screens. I mean, I literally had to have one on my TV, tablet, and phone, so I didn't get to watch really any of the three very closely. So I should have just canceled it and be like, okay, I gotta just pick a couple. But I have been watching the Sounders. I will say the Portland game, Portland was probably better, but if you look at the score overall, but if you look at the scoring, it was they really scored all their goals in 10 minutes, four goals in 17 minutes or so. Other than that, it was a great month. They basically, if you ignore that, it's what, 6-1. If you ignore those 17 minutes. So you said it has been pretty good. I think it's been fantastic. I Yeah, they're positioned pretty well. They're positioned the best of any team in the Seattle area. So they're very good. They're very good. They're going to be fantastic. They're going to be fine. They look great. Other than a 17-minute stretch where they couldn't stop anything coming through the net. But that's totally fine. That happens. Get it out of your system now.
It's true they are tied with St. Louis, team they beat at 19 points atop the Western Conference. Kevin, have you been able to watch any Seattle Sounders lately?
Unfortunately, no. We keep up with the scores and stuff like that, but yeah, sadly not. So, but I'll be keep rooting for them.
Absolutely. I have had trouble watching the Sounders as well. They're kind of like this exclusive Apple TV deal, but I have yet to figure out how to watch them. Maybe Sean has, I don't know, but I generally only catch them when they're on like Fox Sports or Fox Sports 1 or something like that. So I haven't caught too many Sounders games, and it doesn't appear that they're streaming on Amazon anymore. Is that correct? Or am I just not paying
I thought
attention?
they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have
Or
to check
Amazon. No, sorry. Yeah, Apple only. That's what it
Apple
is.
only. Okay.
Unless there's like a national game that gets bought out, but then, yeah, it's Apple only.
So if you have Apple TV, you will be able to watch the Seattle Sounders, but if not, it's going to be pretty difficult for you to do. So check out to see when they are on television that is actually watchable for people who don't have an Apple TV subscription. They are hosting the San Diego Loyal Soccer Club in the U.S. Open Cup on Wednesday, and then they are at Real Salt Lake this Saturday before they've got 6 games in the month of May. So keep on supporting those Seattle Sounders, and we'll see if they can, perhaps defend their CONCACAF Champions League Cup once again. So we'll see how they do there. Now, it's the second part of our good news, bad news, good news sandwich, and we're talking about the Seattle Kraken. That is right. They are in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and right now they are currently tied at 2 with the Colorado Avalanche. That series is currently 2-1 in favor of Colorado. Seattle had their first playoff home game in since 1919, I think it was, and they lost 6-4 on Saturday to the Colorado Avalanche, and they picked up a win in game 1, but then fell in games 2 and 3. So, Kevin, have you been watching any Seattle Kraken playoff hockey lately?
Sadly, no. Also working. Unfortunately, this boy works too much. But like I said, I always keep track of it on my phone and the scores and rooting. Hopefully they will pull it out. But Colorado's also a very good team. So I mean, if they pull it out, sure, that's great. But if they don't, I mean, it's respectable to lose Colorado. And as we said many, many times on this podcast, we didn't expect them to be in this position at the beginning of the year. So everything from here on out is just gravy, icing on top, whatever, gravy, rice, whatever you want to put on top. Yeah, so hopefully they can make a good playoff run and then, add more to this team in the playoffs or in the off season and then come at it hard next season. So
Yeah, quick shout out to former Tri-City American, current Seattle Kraken player Morgan Geekie. He missed game 3 for a very good reason. His wife gave birth to a daughter, their daughter Gabby. So congratulations to Morgan Geekie. He is back in the lineup tonight. The Kraken have looked actually pretty good. They could have easily gotten blown out by the Colorado Avalanche. I would say Colorado has the skill advantage. I don't think there's any debate there. Seattle has been holding their own. I think Grubauer has stepped his play up in the playoffs. The last game notwithstanding, I think that their depth scoring has been good. They just don't really have that Nathan McKinnon, that Connor McDavid. That's a go-to to create plays, generate offense, get power play chances. And they got goals from a lot of different guys like Jared McCann, Jaden Schwartz, Morgan Geekie, Ellie Tolvanen. All these guys have scored. Even Brandon Tanev scored a shorthanded goal in the second game. They were up 2-0. Sean was talking earlier about, before we got on this podcast, they just haven't been able to capitalize on their opportunities, and that's basically been the story this entire series for the Kraken. They have had their chances. Certainly, they were up 2-0 in game 2 and lost that game. So they have been in these games. They have just not been able to either close it out or just keep putting the pressure on. Grubauer had took his lumps in the regular season, but it looks like he is better in the playoffs, but it's just probably a little too late. In our Twitter message group, I said Avs in 7. Sean has Avs in 5. It's 2-2 right now. So if the Avs win this game, Sean's prediction is probably correct, but we'll see what happens. Sean, what have you thought about the Seattle Kraken?
I think a little different. I think the Kraken have actually, especially in the first 2 games, took advantage of every single mistake. The Avs were incredibly, incredibly sloppy in 2 games, and the Kraken were only able to get 1 win. It's just I recently saw a study, and it was a study, but a statistic, and it was talking about the most important things and specific to NHL playoffs, but they're working on extrapolating this to other sports. But it's you need stars. If you don't have stars, you're not going to win anything. And unfortunately, as everyone was really excited about all these 20 goal scorers, that is not what you want in the playoffs. You want your top line guys scoring goals. If anybody saw the Leafs Toronto the Lightning game, did either of you see that today?
I did.
Leafs down 3 with 9 minutes left. Austin Matthews 2 goals, game winner in overtime. They needed it. He showed up. You had the superstar. Kraken can't do that. They don't have that guy. They don't have a couple guys. You need a guy. I'm not to say that it can't happen. Matty could possibly get there. I mean, he's young. He's still a baby, and it's not on him to be that guy yet. But in order to take that step and to actually be a contender, you need a dude. You need a dude, and you need a goalie. And Grubauer has played better than expected, and it's kept them in the games. But this is not who Grubauer is on a day in and day out basis and a year in and year out basis. And until they fix those 2 things, this is what it's going to be. It's going to be you're going to be gone in 5. And honestly, you're not going to be respected as a real playoff team. And that's kind of what it was coming into it. Listen to a lot of podcasts, read a lot of things, and it was the Kraken at the lowest odds of making and winning Stanley Cup of any team. Not necessarily because they were the worst team, probably that has something to do with it, but they would have the toughest road of any team to get to. They'd have to go through Colorado, Vegas, and then and then beat an Eastern Conference team. It's like it's very, very, very hard to do that through their side with kind of their skill deficiency that they have. So I think the Kraken have played better than could be expected. It's just when the Avs need a thing, the Kraken just can't stop them because they have the dudes. They need him. They don't have him yet, and hopefully Matty can be that guy, and Shane Wright can take that next step next year, and they could draft a little bit better and get the dude because they've got the depth. That is nice. They've got 4 lines. They got that. They just need 2 dudes. You just need 2 dudes. Like Edmonton's basically done it with 2. 2 dudes dragged them halfway, and it was basically 1.5 because Connor McDavid was doing most of the legwork anyways. Like to the Western Conference Final last year, they have no goalie, so it's just like if you got guys, they can get you there. But that's the glaring weakness with the Kraken right now, and it's fine. Like Kevin said, it's better than expected, but it's just people are getting very excited when the Kraken score early, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's great. And I'm like, and then they just can't hold it because the talent overcomes, and it's hard to. It's frustrating to watch, but it's still fun that I get competitive playoff hockey. But yeah, would like to get a couple wins at least.
Well, let me just say, don't make a Maple Leafs comparison until they actually do it. It's just
no, they did it today. They needed Austin Matthews.
They did it today, but they haven't done it yet. So
well, okay, they haven't done it yet because they keep playing the Lightning, who beats everybody. So I'm sorry that.
And they're also playing the Lightning right now. So
I know that's that's what I'm saying. Like we've talked about this with other sports, Mike. When it comes to Seahawks, like when I want a team to go to the playoffs, is like, can you be a championship contender? Now you could get a bad luck of the draw, like the Seahawks, if they were a contender, or let's say the Eagles and 49ers somehow play each other first round this year. That doesn't mean the teams that get further than them are better than them. The 2 teams who are contenders would have played in the first round of the playoffs, and they would knock each other off. They're better than all the other teams in the NFC, but they just happen to play each other. That's what's happening a lot of times in the Eastern Conference. The Lightning and Maple Leafs are 2 Stanley Cup contenders, way better than most of the teams in the East. They just happen to play each other every year in the first round. So when Maple Leafs fans or people make fun of Maple Leafs, like, you're losing in first round every year, I'm like, yeah, everybody loses to the Lightning. It happens all the time. If you haven't noticed, they didn't accidentally make 3 Stanley Cups in a row by accident. Like, they beat a lot of teams on the way there. Like, so they're losing to like the best team in like the last 20 years, so it sucks, but they're up 3-1 now. So we'll see. It is the Leafs, but I don't blame them the last couple of years. Like, their guys have been doing their job. They're just playing an all-time great team. It's just, that's that. I don't hold this against them.
And with the Kraken, I mean, they are missing Burakovsky, who knows, he should be back next season. They did pay him like a guy who should be one of their top scorers, and he just hasn't been there. So, like you mentioned, Shane Wright just didn't quite develop like they hoped he would this year. Hopefully he comes up next year and has a good rookie campaign and gets going. But like we've talked about, the foundational pieces are there. The team has a good framework in order to win games and make the playoffs, clearly. So it's just a matter of getting more pieces added to make them into a team that is, going to be there in the Western Conference Finals, win their first round series. So I don't think they're far off. They don't need a whole lot, but right now it just seems like they're overpowered.
Big chips, and that's the thing you need, which can be solved. I don't want to go to the Sharks too much, but there is a guy who just set a points record for defensemen that had in the last time of 35 years, and Carlson, who will be on the trading block. He had 40 more points than any other Kraken player this year at defense, which is like very hard to do. He will be available. He's a him. He's going to win maybe his 3rd Norris as the best defender in the NHL again this year. He's available. He's a him. You could get Timo Meier, who just left the Sharks and scored a bunch of goals and is dominating and playing really well in the playoffs right now. He's a free agent. You can get him. He's him. And then those 2 guys can help Matty grow into another dude right there. Boom. You trade for one, sign a free agent. You got your guys. Like, that's a solve right there.
Well, it's not as simple as that, but yeah, I see what you're saying.
It is. You could. You have the depth. You could trade for the depth to get the Carlson, because all really Sharks want is cap space, and they need space. So if you don't have to give up a ton to just get him, and Timo Meier's a free agent, you don't have to give up anything to get him. And those are 2 legitimate top tier guys. And Matty develops in that. You have 3 dudes. You have 3 real dudes. Right now you have 0. You don't have any dudes. You have a bunch of nice pieces, but no dudes.
What I'm saying is that sounds great, but a lot of other teams are going to want them. They may not want to play in
That's what I'm
Seattle.
saying.
So
Carlson
there's other
is the thing.
factors that are involved. But yes, if that were
You could
that
have
simple, then
easily got
yes.
Carlson. The Sharks are wanting to get rid of Carlson. You could easily get Carlson.
I can't speak to how easy that would be. So
it's if you're willing to eat the contract, they'll give him to you right now. They've been trying to do that. Teams don't want to eat the contract. That's all it takes, Kraken. Do you want to win? Eat the contract. So it
eat
comes
the
down
contract.
To.
Eat it.
That's it. It's a lot of money. I'm not
Put it
going
in
to
your
say
mouth.
it's not. It is not. But you want a dude who gets 100 points. There, he's right there.
Well, we will see how this game finishes out. We'll be providing some updates. This isn't live, so you'll be seeing this on YouTube, but we'll let you know post haste if this game turns out well. But let's talk about some Seattle Mariners baseball. And this is the bottom half of the good, bad, good sandwich because they did win the game on Saturday. Now, they lost the series finale, but they won the overall series. So let's talk about the Seattle Mariners. They are currently sitting at 10-12. This last week, they lost in a sweep against the Milwaukee Brewers at home, and then they hosted St. Louis for a 3-game series, took 2 of 3, won the first 2, lost the last one. They are off today, and then they go on a nice little road trip. 3 games in Philly, 3 games in Toronto, 3 games in Oakland before coming back home to take on the Houston Astros, and I will be at that Saturday game. But first, Kevin, I know you've been watching Seattle Mariners baseball. And what have you thought of the Seattle Mariners?
So far, has it been a little underperforming? Yes. But at the same time, too, they have faced a lot of really good teams. Believe it or not, because I think we have to remind Mariners
Kevin,
fans
are other
this.
teams paid to play professional baseball?
Damn it. Yes, I was about to say that. I was like, we have to kind of remind Mariner fans, just like we have to remind Seahawks fans that other teams are paid to play the sport.
Mostly the A's, it's debatable. but
yeah. I mean, there is no excuse for them not sweeping Oakland. They should sweep Oakland.
Well, Oakland might get one. I mean, they're gonna win some. They're gonna fall ass backwards into some wins.
With this upcoming road trip, I'm kind of going ahead of myself, but like, if you're going to sweep one of those teams, you should sweep Oakland. That should.
If you're gonna sweep a team, it should be probably Oakland.
Yeah. Going back to it, getting swept by Milwaukee kind of sucked, but turns out Milwaukee's kind of good, and that's even with Corbin Burns sucking butthole right now.
Butts or butthole?
Scary. Both.
Oh my. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. Their ace has been sucking, and they're just like slapping fools in the face. So if Corbin Burns figures it out, like that's kind of a scary thought of what that team can do. So was I sad? Yes, I would at least like to get one against them, but then they got a series win against the St. Louis, the Cardinals have been underperforming to start the season as well, kind of like what we have. But I believe all in all, they're a good team. I think their pitching got a little worse this season, but they still have the bats. So I mean, yes, would have loved to sweep there, yes, but that's also being greedy. Like, all I want the Mariners to do, and we've said it before on this podcast, just win the series. That's all you have to do. Just win the series. And if it's a 4-game series, at least minimally tie it. Try to tie it at minimum. If not, try to win the series, and you'll be fine. But you cannot get swept. If you're gonna lose a series, don't get swept. That's just bad. Even if it's against a good team, you gotta try to at least take one. It's understandable, and I know it's gonna happen. Like, Houston's probably gonna sweep us one series. Should we win one of the games? Sure. Yeah. But I mean, it's going to happen probably. And, I'm not going to be like 95% of the Mariner fans and say like the sky is falling and kill Dipoto and just trade everything off and, freak out like every Mariners fan is pretty much essentially doing at this point, when we're not even like a sixth of the season in. Like, it's not even out of April yet. It's been 3 weeks. Calm your buttholes. So But of course, Seattle fans, per usual, they way overreact before even a fourth of the season of any team in Seattle's, over. So they just, yeah, I'm not surprised at all. The problems that we've seen with this team, which is kind of what we discussed, is you needed to pay more in the offseason. Unfortunately, the ownership just didn't go get, the big star power lineups that you should have gotten. And now you're kind of seeing what happens when you put Tommy LaStella out at DH. It's not great. Did I expect Colton Wong to be the sympathetic piece of crap that he is right now? No. And is it going to last? I don't think it's going to rebound as much as Sean thinks it's going to rebound, but of course, yes, he's not going to continue his negative war, as Sean's going to come into in a little bit to say.
What makes you think I'm going to think it's going to rebound a ton?
I don't think. I don't know. I feel like the second base. I know this is shenanigans, but like our second base is just cursed.
Yeah, what makes you think I think he's going to rebound a ton? He'll play better, obviously. But is he going to be a world beater? Probably not.
No, yeah. I mean, just do better than what Adam Frazier did last year at minimum, which is not asking a lot. And the fact that Adam Frazier is now, did I know that Adam Frazier would do better this year? Yes, because he's going to a way easier ballpark to hit. My farts can hit home runs in Baltimore. So, I mean, it's
I would love to see that, to be honest with you.
Right. Positives out of it, pitching has been all in all pretty good. I mean, we did have some injuries, which is sad to see, but all in all, I feel like the pitching's been solid. People need to get off of Marco's nuts a little bit. Marco's been a solid fifth starter. Flexen's kind of been getting blown up a little bit, which is kind of sad to see. But Marco, for the most part, has been kind of solid, and then everybody else has been pretty solid as well. So, especially that Castillo, he's kind of a sexy, sexy boy. I kind of expect a little bit, and I think it will come to, because he's still young, so I need to lower my expectations. I think Brash can be better than what he is right now, but because of how much spin he gets on it, and with him being so young, I think it's something that will eventually develop and to where he'll be fine, essentially.
Yeah.
It was tough seeing Munoz go down, go on the 10-day IL, and it showed, in some of those games. We really missed him. Some of the pieces that they brought up to substantiate that bullpen didn't really work out, but I mean, you have to kind of see what you got. So at this point, it's mainly what you do at DH, and the sad part is we're just kind of waiting for either Trammell or Dylan Moore to come back, and I don't know if that's really the answer. Maybe, as I was talking with Sean in a text, maybe Trammell, maybe, because you've seen a very small sample size, but that's the sad part is Trammell's always hurt. So it's like, if he comes up, how long is it until he gets hurt again? But we've seen that he does have the power. He's just got to keep less of the strikeouts type of deal. But now that the shift is gone, who knows? Maybe he might get a little bit more. Good news is Kelnick, I know Matt's going to scream hallelujah because he drafted him. Kelnick has been pretty solid. I hope he continues it. Like I said, it's very still small sample size to say that Jared Kelnick is going to continue this route. He's probably going to have a Mariner fans. I'm telling you right now, don't poop yourselves. Gonna happen. He's gonna have a stretch where he's probably not gonna be as good. He's gonna cool off a little bit. He might come back on. It's okay. It's what happens. I mean, for God's sake, we had years where Kyle Seager didn't wake up for 3 months. I mean, it happens. There's hots and lows. Now, hopefully he can just continue it and just be solid throughout. That'd be great. I think he has the ability to do it. He's jacked, he's athletic, he's young, and he essentially, his swing looks so much better than what it did last year, and his patience and his eye for swinging at better things has been better. And the shift, going away kind of helped a little bit too, but even though it's technically kind of still there. I mean, we don't have time to get into that. We'll go on. Yeah. But all in all, happy with what we got so far.
Sean, what have you thought of the Seattle Mariners so far?
It's Mariners baseball. They're 6-4 in their last 10 games. It's been fine. They're what, 2 games below 500. It's we're 20 games in the season. I mean, can you guys name the teams in the first place? The Rangers are in first place.
Yep.
Everybody thought so. The Pirates have the best record in the National League. Totally, everybody saw it.
Yeah.
And the Diamondbacks are winning the division, and the Dodgers are 1 game above 500, and the Padres are 500. All of those things tell you it's super early and calm the F down. Like, the Pirates have the best record in the NL. I'm going to say it one more time. Like, and they lost O'Neal Cruz, their best player. Settle down. Settle down.
Well,
It's very
and
early.
Brian Reynolds was just going like bananas for like
McCutchen the last week has just been
and
bonkers
McCutchen
too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, I'm like, it's early. It's early. The Pirates have a 700 winning percentage. The Rays just don't lose. They have a 900 winning percentage. Like, they have the best start of all time, including the 2001 Mariners. Like, it will come back down to earth. It's very early. Nothing really matters. The golden rules, nothing matters till about 45 games in the season. So then you can start kind of seeing what is that goes for players and teams. Kevin brought up Matt Brash. Matt Brash has been the unluckiest pitcher in baseball. His ERA is over 5. His expected ERA is 2. So it's just not, when he gets hit, just goes, it just, things happen. So it's just like, it's just, sometimes you gotta get lucky too. And relief pitchers have small sample sizes. Something bad happens, and boom.
I think
He's been pretty good. Like, and all things considered, stuff wise, he's been pretty good. And as we go, his stuff wins in the long run. It's totally fine. I'm not worried about that. Yeah, Jared Kelnick has been killing it. The craziest part is, like, other than his ISO numbers, like, none of it really is, like, not sustainable. And all ISO just means is, like, the home runs will drop a little bit, but his BABIP is a little high, but it'll come down. With Jared's not slow, so it could still be around this. He has the same BABIP as Eugenio Suarez. So Suarez is going to drop, that's for sure. So his numbers are going to come down a little bit. He's not a 360 BABIP guy. But yeah, Kelnick's slugging will come down. It'll come down a bit, but in large part, base running has been the best on the team. It's being backed up by true numbers so far. Unlike the Kyle Lewis year, which no one saw coming. But Kelnick's numbers are real, so that is good so far to see. Yeah, it's early, it's fine. Like Kevin was right, Marco. Everyone needs to calm down. He's given you a chance to win every 5th day. He's not some burner, but his numbers are basically right on. His ERA and expected ERA are 0.2 apart. Just who he is. He's gonna be a mid 3.5s guy. And are you telling me if my 5th start where the Mariners were just 5 years ago? If you told me my 5th starter was a 3.5 ERA, I'd be jumping for joy. Now Mariner fans that we don't have 5 Luis Castillos in the lineup are just so mad. And I'm like, guys, it's fine. It's fine. Marco is totally fine. He's been great. So, yeah, I'm more than fine with where this team is. Obviously, would I like them to have the same record as the Rays? Absolutely. But they're doing just fine. Again, like Kevin said, that we played Milwaukee and St. Louis. They're both very good teams. We went what, 2-4 against them, not great. But like Kevin said, we swept Colorado. We beat the bad team. We beat them 3 times. We did what we're supposed to do. We are 6-4. We're 6-4 in our last 10. That is winning record. That has been the recent. That is fine. So I'm not worried about this team at all. It is too early.
Well, let me touch on some things you guys haven't touched on. First of all, I got Jared Kelnick for $1 in fantasy baseball. Best investment so far on this season. I think it's not even close. Like, he has just been raking as I predicted before the season. So, Jared, just keep being you, buddy. Just keep being you. And then yes, Kevin,
James
thank you.
Ottman was the best money spent by anybody.
Thank you
Sorry.
for giving me my condolences because I have Andre Munoz on my IL spot right now. So when he comes back, it'll be great to have him back on my team, also on the Mariners, but mainly on my team. So that will be great as well. I really have been enjoying the new trend from the Mariners, which I'm sure most people have seen at this point, but it is the home run trident, and I am here for it. Every team seems to have their own little special celebration for a home run. The Mariners had the Vader helmet last year. And that was cool, but they stepped it up a notch here, and Julio doesn't have the helmet on in this picture. So it's not quite as good as it could
They
be.
have the helmet, Matthew. You're clearly outdated.
No, in this picture.
Yeah, but they have it. It's
I know,
bedazzled.
I know, I know. You want the whole package. I want the helmet with the trident. I know there's a picture out there. I just don't have it on my time feed right now. But that is a solid look for the Mariners. Really approve of the home run trident. I watched a lot of Mariners baseball up until the start of the Stanley Cup playoffs and the NBA playoffs. I've mainly been watching that. I caught some of the Colorado series, and that was pretty good. I also was watching because I have Charlie Blackmon, who did not do very well. So that seems to be a mistake. But
He's been
mistakes.
he's been a lot better for you than he's been in the past, though. You've already won this year.
Well,
Trident.
now that I've, basically got everything out of him, maybe I just,
Yeah, you
you
need
know,
to
get rid of him at this point. I think that's maybe the move here.
price your
Um,
roster though.
but overall, I think this team has been fine. Sean says 45 games in. I'm the opposite. 45 games left. Is when I really start caring. So,
It's not caring. It's when you see trends. If you're caring if you're seeing a trend 45 games less the season, you're already done. Like the season's already over. You can't make trades 45 games less. The season's already done. You better hurry it up. Like,
well,
trends,
it's caring. I mean, trends I don't care
trends
about,
and
but
things that you could bank on is like, okay, this is a big enough sample size where we can kind of start to see who you are.
oh, here we go. Here's a better one. Sorry, I didn't see this one on my feed here. Here is Teoscar fully embracing the helmet as well as the trident. So, Teoscar, well done with that. I think I've got a bigger one up here on my timeline. Let's see here. Where is it? He has it as his there it is. There's Teo with his new profile picture. Love the art. Does he credit somebody in this? I don't think he does. I don't think he does. That's okay. But love the home run trident. Great job by the Mariners organization there. And I don't really listen to Mariners fans on Twitter, so keep distracting these guys. It's fine with me. Let's see. Are there any prospect watch guys you guys want to highlight in the Mariners farm system? I know they have been getting underway in the lower leagues. Sean?
Kevin, do you have one? I mean, I have a couple, but I was waiting to pull.
Emerson Hancock's been very good.
Yeah, stall for a second. I gotta pull them up.
But yeah, which we kind of hoping and expected. So that's a good track so far. I mean, it's been very minor sample size, like because they've only been playing for. I usually don't start looking for about another week or so, but so far the only one that I really noticed is that Emerson Hancock has had a very good start to the season. So
I will say Jonathan Clase, who is like 80 speed grade. For those that don't know, it's on a usually it's on a 20 to 70 scale. I mean, 80 is a very rare. So when you have an 80 in something, technically it's 20 to 80, but you only ever see 70s. The last 80 I saw was Wander Franco hit tool of 80, and he's playing pretty well. Yeah, Jonathan Clase has 80 speed, and he's added some muscle this offseason. So he's 20 years old. He's got 3 dingers. He had 55 stolen bases last year. Already has 12. He has kept the speed. He already has 11 stolen bases and is hitting bombs now. And Harry Ford.
What position does he play?
He's middle infielder. So we'll see what he ends up.
Is he related to Emmanuel Clase?
Oh no, It's they haven't in center field now. Actually, okay. He was an infielder. Now he's. I guess they're shifted him out there because I guess they have like all their recent draft picks and Axel Sanchez playing around in the infield. So, but they have Harry Ford, who is still doing Harry Ford things, which is nice to see after the World Baseball Classic where he got to see real pitching and he played pretty well. And he's playing pretty well. So some young guys doing pretty well at high A. Hopefully I can see them and get out there, Kevin, and see them when they come into town. Although that might be a little hard, but yeah, they got all their guys at Double A. They got Bryce Miller, who has been getting touched up a bit, and but they got all of them have actually a little bit. Prelander, Emerson, Brandon Wu. How's Brandon Wu been doing? Brandon Wu has been doing pretty good. That's pretty good. Okay, three starts, 2 ERA. Okay, I'll take that. But yeah, so those are the guys right now. Like Kevin said, it's super early, so there'll be more once we get a little further. But yeah,
All right. Well, the Mariners are at Philadelphia, and I love the East Coast time zone for the Pacific time zone because you've got mid-afternoon, and then 10 a.m. on Thursday in Seattle, but 1 o'clock over there. So get up if you're not already up. You're probably already up, but set your alarms for that game. Then they're in Toronto for 3 games, 4 o'clock, noon, 10:30 on Sunday. Oh, love it. Love it. And then they're back in the West Coast time zone taking on Oakland. And can we all like maybe hold a candlelight vigil for the Oakland A's since they will not be in Oakland in a few years? If you have not heard, they have bought land to build a stadium in Las Vegas. Las Vegas is hot right now. Not only in temperature probably, but also in the sports market because they got football, they got hockey, baseball's coming.
can they support a baseball team?
I don't see why not at this
Well,
point,
how?
but what do you mean how? They're supporting a hockey team, they're supporting a
Hockey
football
team
team.
is less than half the size. You're gonna put 40,000 in a stadium like 81 times? No. In Vegas, there's the market's it's too small.
Well, we'll see what happens because the Oakland A's will no longer be the Oakland A's in
No.
2020. Or I don't know if they're going to keep the A's name. I bet you they change it. I would hope they change it actually.
What
That would
Oakland
be
needs to do is get real petty with this and say your lease is up, and then make them play in the AAA stadium or something like that. You can play in front of 10,000 people.
You mean make them
It's-
pull an Arizona Coyotes and play at a college rink
yeah,
or something
say
like
screw
that?
you. Screw
Yeah,
you. This is our stadium. You didn't want to stay here, so you play in front of 8,000 people.
probably fill that stadium at least. That would
It
be
had
nice.
less possums than their current stadium.
All right. Well, let's move on to possibly the final topic of the night, and that is the Seattle Seahawks. Yes, the NFL draft begins on Thursday with the first round, then Friday is rounds 2 and 3, and then Saturday is rounds 4 through 7. We're going to do just like we did last year. We are going to mock draft the Seahawks draft with who we want them to pick and who we think they'll pick. So I modified this a little bit. So I have gone through and just made a pick at each pick that they have. We'll list them off as we go through them. I used basically used ESPN's best available list because they've got an extensive list you don't have to pay for, very well scouted. So that is the list that I have used to make this mock draft. And so we'll see how we line up. I was planning to go through our mock last year and see where we were correct because we had a few correct, like Tariq Woolen, Charles Cross. I believe there were a couple more, but not bad for three random dudes on a podcast. So let's go through the first round of picks. So the Seahawks have pick 5 and pick 20. So do I have a volunteer to go first with the 5th overall pick?
Is it who or what they will do?
Let's go with you can go first and then give me who you want them to pick and who you think they'll pick. Sean, go ahead.
It's very tough because it really depends on what the other teams do in front because there are ideally 4 guys that I would
Here,
love to pick at 5.
let me go first. Let me go first. I will go first because I picked my top 5 who I would want in order because they'll get to the 5th. So
Okay.
I want Will Anderson number 1. That's an ideal world. I don't think that'll happen. but that's my ideal world. Number 2 is Anthony Richardson. Number 3 is Tyree Wilson. Number 4 is CJ Stroud. And number 5 is Peter Skoronski. Those are my top 5 in order once it comes to Seattle. In my ideal world, it's Will Anderson. That would be great. Would love to make that pick at number 5. I do not think that will happen. I think the Seahawks have not been deterred by Jalen Carter's legal issues, and I think they will pick Jalen Carter at number 5. That is what I think will happen. Sean, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be Jalen Carter because Pete and his culture's just it's a lie. Like it's all like they're like, we'll do the right thing, and then they take whoever. They take Frank Clark's. It doesn't matter. I think they will take Jalen Carter. I would rather them take Anthony Richardson with that pick. My second choice would be Anderson. Yeah. My first choice is CJ Stroud. If you give me anybody in the draft, I'm taking CJ Stroud. But realistically, I would take Anthony Richardson at 5. Ceiling's too high to pass up.
Kevin, what do you think?
Yeah, they'll probably take Carter. Because I'd be very surprised if Will Anderson is still there.
Same.
The odds on favorite. He's not predicted to be the first defensive player taken. Vegas odds now shifted. It's Texas Tech guy. Matthew just said his name.
Tyree Wilson.
Tyree Wilson.
Yeah, these odds on Vegas favorite to be the first defensive player taken.
It's fine with me.
Number 2.
But most of the people in the media also too don't know.
That is not the media. That is Vegas. That is yeah.
The draft is such a shit show. Like I just don't even listen to most of the people like out there when it comes to that stuff, just because GMs are weird and will do their own thing. Who I want them to take, a quarterback. Yeah, like if CJ Stroud or Anthony Richardson's there, you need to fucking take them. Like plain as day, just take them. Now, if they're not there, I would rather have Tyree Wilson or Will Anderson. But I mean, if Jalen Carter's legal issues don't end up doing anything, I mean, Jalen Carter is a beast. So
I am with you, Kevin. Like, the legal issues have been worked out. He is a good player. While the legal issues are not ideal, it doesn't worry me to where he's like not worthy of being picked at 5, I would say, but I am a little weary of it. Not only because of the legal issues, but I just didn't like his film in some of the later games that they played. I thought he was, for lack of a better word, kind of phoning it in because he knew he was going to get drafted.
I mean, he phoned it in his pro day, that's for sure.
That being said, he's still going to be a good player, I think, in the NFL. But at 5, it's
the good news is that Pete has one thing that goes for him that I can't take away from him, is that people love and want to play for Pete.
People want to play wherever they pay him money.
I mean, yes, but I mean, when you're especially when you're more young and dumb, which Jalen Carter is, having a coach going from, and DK Metcalf kind of commented on this in an interview recently on one of the shows, that when you go from like an all like up your ass like type of coach who's just constantly on you to a guy like Pete who's just positive all around, that it just makes you want to work harder for him. Not that he wouldn't work hard for other teams. I'm just saying, like, that's a lot of it puts a drive, like a weird extra drive that I've seen with other people before too, that other players have commented in interviews before too. But all in all, as me and Sean have already mentioned, though, you need to get a quarterback here because the quarterbacks win championships, period. Like, a quarterback for the future is going to have more outcome than what a defensive tackle is or a edge rusher. Now, edge rushers are important, especially more than a defensive tackle. Now, could Jalen Carter be the next closest thing to an Aaron Donald? Yeah, sure.
No, don't even it. Like banking on someone being an Aaron Donald is never a good idea. If they
No,
turn an Aaron
I'm
Donald,
saying
but
next
like,
closest thing. I'm not saying he's like, and by that I mean like 50% Aaron Donald, which is good because
yeah,
Aaron Donald's pretty much the best defensive player in the league. So
pretty
if
much he
you're
is. He's in the conversation of best defensive player of all
yeah,
time.
if you're
Like that, that's a
50%
different comment.
of Aaron Donald, I take that all freaking day. So, but just because of how athletically gifted we've seen Jalen Carter do some things on the tape. Now, yes, recently he's kind of just dialed back, probably with all the crap going on, but I possibly maybe with his head, being drafted, moving on, having something to focus on, might get everything kind of back in tip-top shape and order, so to speak. But if you want to win the future, you need to get a quarterback here because you're not going to get back here unless you trade away what like what the Jets did, so to speak, to get Rodgers.
Yeah,
You're gonna have to trade a lot of pieces to move up to go get one or go get somebody from another team.
you don't have to trade up. You could suck very easily, and then
Well,
you could
yeah, and
draft here
that's
again.
possible too.
Yeah,
I mean, everybody's on the Geno train, but Geno's gonna have a nice wake up next season. But
the,
we'll get to that later on. But so
but
yeah, at the number
the,
5, essentially that.
the statement I want to say for people that are not talking quarterback, because I think all of us here said like quarterback's definitely on like in the conversation here, is they always say Michael from UW. And they're like, well, Michael's going to tear it up this year. He's going to win Heisman, all that stuff. If that's the case, he's going to go high in the draft. So the only way you get Michael is if you totally suck as the Seahawks. Now, if you also think Geno's going to be good, then you won't get him. So that's what the give and take here is. If you want the future quarterback, you have to take him now, because if you think the Seahawks are going to be good, you will not have the opportunity to take them next year. And
The
that's
only
the thing.
other
Like,
scenario is that Geno is good, but then he gets hurt.
but if he's good enough, then you still don't do that because the Bears were just bad all year, and you're never going to pass those teams. So yeah, like we all said, quarterback needs to be in the conversation at 5.
Like what I think, Will Anderson is obviously my ideal choice. But if Anthony, I don't think Will makes it. I don't think Anthony makes it. I don't think CJ Stroud makes it. I don't think Bryce Young makes it. And then you've got Will Levis sitting there. They visited with Will Levis, went to his pro day.
No,
I am not a Will Levis fan.
no,
Um, could they draft him there? Absolutely. Would I be a fan of it? Not
no,
particularly. But
no.
you know, that'll be their
I want
decision.
one of the 3 quarterbacks. I don't want the 4th quarterback.
Well,
Like,
I think the 3 could go in the
yeah,
top 4. It's very, very likely. At pick 20, for me, I want Zay Flowers at this one, wide receiver, Boston College. This is ideal if he makes it there. That'd be great. What I think they'll do is I think they'll take Miles Murphy, defensive end, Clemson. Sean, what do you think?
Matthew, I like the players A Flowers, but you don't need a 3rd wide receiver in the 1st round when you have like nothing. Don't mind the player, but it's not a huge position of need. There's a couple. Oh gosh, I can't even read my own handwriting. Kevin, help me out. The Pitts guy, the tackle from Pitt, who's the mini Aaron Donald.
Oh,
Yancey, is that his pronounce his name?
Hold on,
um,
let me bring the list up here.
I can't
Kalijah
even read my own
Cansey.
chicken scratch. Is this great
Kalijah
podcasting?
Cansey.
Yeah, okay. It was
fancy.
Yancey. I
Yes.
could read it. Yeah, I was like, yes, I like him at the end of the 1st round. Luke Van Ness from Iowa. Any Iowa defensive player is a good idea because they're all Iowa's play defense. They just can't score any points. It's too early. I know people are projecting this, but I really like Nolan Smith. But it first is too early. I would like Nolan Smith if you can go to the 2nd, but I also wouldn't mind honestly a corner because I'm just like I would really like it if they could just have Kobe Bryant be like their nickel, and then like they could have a big body on the outside. But it kind of depends on. I have a bunch of names here, and it depends on you know if Brian Branch from Bama drops far enough, something like that. But Cansey or Luke Van Ness, that'd be my guy in the 20th.
Kevin,
I
who
think
you got? Oh yeah,
okay.
sorry. Go ahead.
Who I think they take? I think they probably throw Yeah, I probably say, oh man, who I think they take. Oh man, I have no idea who's going to be there, and it's just kind of a crapshoot after the top 5 for the Seahawks. You're just throwing dice.
See, I will
Sort of
say
funny.
if they don't get the quarterback they want with 5, then they go defense, defense. That's what I think they do in the
Do they
first.
just take a running back and say screw it? No, I'm just kidding. Um, they could take Darnell Washington, the Georgia tight end, but I think they go. I might actually go Luke Ennis. They might match with me on that one. Defensive player.
Kevin, who you got?
Um,
Who do you want them to take? Start there.
ooh. I mean, as Sean already mentioned, the mini Donald guy, Cansey would be a nice pick. I wouldn't mind Miles Murphy out of Clemson. Um, I mean, pretty much I just want him some hole on defense, which essentially at that point, I mean, I wouldn't be sad if they did get a corner, but I mean, it's kind of like you already have the pieces, sort of, unless you just don't trust Mike Jackson or Phil. The other, who's the other dude that we have on the opposite corner that was hurt?
Tariq?
No, not
Trey
Trey.
Brown?
Trey Brown. Yeah, that's it. If you don't trust Trey Brown or Mike Jackson, then
Gosh, they have Miles Murphy and Nolan Smith going 12-13. Jeez, that's really high.
I would say probably Jack Campbell out of Iowa would be someone I would like to, well, he's linebacker. Sorry, that was another one I was gonna say. Deontay Banks out of Maryland is a good corner that could be around there.
Yep.
Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon.
I think he goes too high, but yeah, I mean, I actually think Banks is a good. I have him written here, and I wasn't sure if they pull the trigger, but I think Christian's going top 10 though. But I agree with Kevin. Yeah, they have him going 8 overall. Christian Gonzalez.
Honestly, for Pete, just because he likes taking linebackers in the first round, I wouldn't be surprised if he likes Iowa. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did take Jack Campbell, to be honest, because you have Bobby and then you got Devin Bush, who's kind of like maybe he could, like, I was talking about this with a couple of with my coworker the other day. I was like, Devin Bush was good before he tore his ACL and then it's kind of poopy. But I was like, if anybody could bring him back, having Bobby in your ear might help. But then it's just the physical, like, can you get back to what you were before you tore your ACL? But having Jack Campbell as depth and competition, I'm going to put that in quotes, competition, would be nice. Just because, like, we just need defensive pieces. Other than that, I could see him do a stretch pick, like a Drew Sanders, who's a linebacker out of Arkansas, or actually, because they like Kansas too. They like to draft people out of Kansas. I could see
Kansas State usually, yeah.
Kansas State. Sorry, is what I meant to say.
Yeah.
On Dike Uzoma.
Oh yeah, he's memorable. I had to look him up just because of his name when I first saw him. I was like, okay, I gotta figure out who this guy is. I was like,
it's gonna be probably a guy that should have gone in the second round, but they're like, well, we like him, so we're gonna take him here, even though they have what, the 10th pick in the second round to go get that dude who's probably still gonna be there. So I'd say they're probably gonna take a linebacker most likely. Just because that's Pete's bread and butter, essentially. It's a linebacker that can. And is it bad? It'll depend. Like I said, we need defensive pieces. After you get the quarterback, it's pretty. Other than, like, I would like to see a center be. I wouldn't be.
First is too high for
a center. Even
First
if they stretched and got a center that they didn't think that would be there at the 10th pick, I'd be okay with it. Just because
the 10th pick, the 20th pick,
or sorry, with the 10th pick in the second round is what I meant.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
second if they don't think he's getting to the 10th pick in the second round, and you really like that center, do it. Just because you gotta solidify the inner part of that O line a little bit and help Geno out. Because you got the tackles. It's just the inner part of the line is a bunch of dog do at the moment. So you got to solidify that eventually. I think they probably most of the centers and guards that they have listed are second and third round. So
Don't they have the 37th pick?
Yeah, they do in the second round. Yes,
Yeah, they don't have to wait
We
that.
haven't
they have
gotten
the
there yet.
52nd pick in the second round.
they have
They
the
have two
37th
second-round
and the
picks.
52nd.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, my
Yeah.
apologies.
Yeah, they don't have to wait that long.
So what is that? That's the
They right now the 37th.
That's the 5th pick. Oh, that's right. I forgot. That's
And it's one less because remember there's only 31 picks in the first round this year
Oh, that's true.
because of the forfeited. The Dolphins do not have one.
Honestly, as people have talked about it too, I want to go into a little, just a smidge, on Hooker out of Tennessee.
Why? We're not going to draft Hooker. I don't want any part of Hooker.
Well, Kevin, that's a good segue because that's exactly who I want them to take at
No.
37 is Hendon Hooker, quarterback, Tennessee.
Okay.
That is where I'm shooting my shot.
No.
Here's the thing. Does it fit Pete's system? No. He has the wheels, but after getting hurt, he's fairly accurate from what I've seen on his tape. I just don't. I have a feeling his ceiling is a not as good Lamar.
That's his ceiling. I feel it's like a little bit mobile Ryan Tannehill.
Well, I mean, though, Tannehill has had flashes.
That's an upside. He's
Yeah.
like it's a serviceable quarterback, but that's it. Like he can be serviceable, and that's not moving me the needle.
No. What he has in his wheelhouse for running is essentially nutty. Like his tape with like when he moves is crazy. Like when he scrambles, it's good. It's just the throwing aspect, which is kind of what you need as a quarterback. Is
I mean, he did have a 20 ACL.
Well, let me preface this by saying I want Hendon Hooker because I think he played well at Tennessee. He looked good. I like the running aspect of his game. And my assumption for any quarterback the Seahawks draft is they are sitting a year behind Geno. Unless it goes bad or unless like, an injury happens and they're forced into the game. My assumption is whoever is drafted sits behind Geno. Is that reasonable to say for everybody here?
Yeah, if they take Richardson at 5, I expect him to sit a whole year behind Geno.
I will say, now I don't know how much tape Sean's watched on Mr. Hooker.
Yes, I watched Hooker.
He does have, and I'm not going 100. It's more like the 50%. He has the capability of doing Mahomes style things. He can throw it crossbody on the move.
Yeah, technically people can.
Now, I've only seen him do it on 10, 15-yard routes. I haven't seen him do Mahomes things where he's putting it 35 yards downfield on a fucking penny.
I am fairly confident he will be nowhere near Patrick Mahomes.
Oh God, no! I'm not even saying no. God,
we
no.
could stop this conversation.
Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. No one's touching Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
but the Patrick Mahomes is setting the bar of
he's not the bar. He's not the bar because you can't compare him to anybody else.
What I'm saying is that people are looking for mobile quarterbacks like Mahomes and like what's his name in Buffalo? I'm totally
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen that can move out of the pocket and do crazy throws either downfield or cross body to get a target open instead of doing a Russell Wilson running around, sit, plant, throw. Now, Russell has thrown on the move as well, but nowhere near he can put it accurately if it's within 20 yards. Well, he could. I don't know if he still can. So I haven't seen him do it, but he can do it if it's within 25 yards. So Wilson can do it accurately at cross body and has done it. But what Mahomes can do is just Mahomes stuff. But if you get a quarterback that can do Russell Wilson / Josh Allen things to where he can get something within 25 yards or less crossbody on move, make, underhand throws, sidearm throws, stuff like that, to where he's making completions and not making scary throws to where it's
I don't
looking
want
like
anyone
he's
to
gonna
throw. I
intercept
don't
it.
want anybody throwing a crossbody. I don't want anyone throwing sidearms. That's Mahomes. Leave him alone. He can do it. You can't. Stop doing it. That's what I would say. I'm like, don't do it. Like, I don't want my quarterback doing that.
It just
I don't have
depends
Mahomes.
on their talent scheme. Like, some people just have the arm to do it. Now, does he have the arm to do it as accurately and as far as Mahomes? No. But you now are going into an era where people want quarterbacks that can throw on the move. Essentially, when they can scramble out of pocket.
Yes, you don't want them to. You
Of
ideally
course.
don't.
I mean, in the ideal scenario, you have a pocket. Yeah, we
Well,
already.
you want them to do the Russell. Want to get out, plant, and throw because it's way more
Yeah.
accurate.
Yeah,
You don't want them to do that.
but you want they have the if the opportunity comes that they can do it, essentially is what you're looking for. But
And then
yes,
you draft.
the
If you want
main
that guy, you draft.
the
So you
main
want
things that you want in a quarterback, of course, are mobility and accuracy of the normal things that a quarterback can do. Which is why the quarterbacks that are going at the top are going at the top for a reason.
You want reading a defense, like, and all that stuff first.
Yes.
But then yes. Like that. Well, that's the thing. Like, he's basically just a worse version of uh, Will, because he does that. He's mobile and he has a strong arm. He could throw out a run too. He's just kind of like, my issue also with him is like, how mobile is he gonna be? Because we know that like people can and do all the time come back from ACLs, but there are people who also don't come back from ACLs. And if mobility is big part of his game and he's not mobile anymore, then that's it.
He's also old for a quarterback as well.
He's very old. That's why. I guess okay. So Matthew wants Hooker in the second.
Yes, I think they will take a guard, and I looked at Osiris Torrance from Florida, so that's what I think they will take.
I'm gonna butcher his name. I really like Brian Brees out of Clemson, and I really like Tuli. I don't even want to say his name. I don't even want to try to say his last name. To Tulu, the USC guy. Both of those guys, interior guys, linemen. I want either of them with the first pick, and I would not be sad if they got the other one with the second pick and doubled up, because I like them both. Because if you go first round edge and then go both tackles, love it both. I also like Jerry and Dexter from Florida as a tackle too, who could go in the second round. Basically, I just really like tackles here. The one I want, maybe the end of the second, because I'll just transition to the beginning of the third. It's I don't, for people who know me, I don't do this often. Like Borgie or other WSU Cougar guys who everyone's like, oh my gosh, you got to draft that guy. I don't homer WSU guys, but Damian Heenley, the linebacker for WSU, has been climbing up boards and he looks really good. And he needs to be a Seahawk, and he's projected to go second or third. So if you could, ideally, obviously, you want to wait later if you can, like first pick of the third. But if you have to use a second pick on him, I really like him. Other second round guys that possibly could take. Let's see here. Matthew wants a wide receiver. I really like Tank Dell out of Houston. In a second or third, if you don't have to go that high on that guy. The oh gosh, the center, Minnesota guy, Schmitz. He can go in the second too, for Kevin getting a center. So I can pick either of those. Who do the Seahawks actually take instead? I think they take. It's funny actually. This mock draft has them taking Brian Brees. What? That'd be awesome. The Clemson sophomore. I think they might take Gibbs, the running back. I would hate it. But I think they're going to do something like that, or possibly a wide receiver. Maybe Tank Dell again, but I think they're going to go that route. I hope they don't take a running back, but yeah.
All right, well, we're running a little past time, so I'll roll through mine just real quick, and then I'll throw the floor to Kevin here. So I had Hendon Hooker at 37. At 52, I went with BJ Ojulari, outside linebacker of LSU. And then what I think they'll do is I think they'll take a wide receiver within the second, third round. So I have Jalen Hyatt, wide receiver out of Tennessee. And then in the third round at 83, I want to get some offensive line pieces. So I went with Luke Whippler, center, Ohio State. And at that pick, I think they'll take a linebacker. I picked Henry Tutu. I don't know how to say that name. T-O.
Yeah, Alabama.
Yeah, inside
Yeah,
linebacker.
yeah, I like him. Particularly in the fourth. Yeah.
And then in the fourth at 123, I went with Braden Daniels, offensive guard at Utah, since I hadn't gotten that position in my
I have
own
him
personal
too. I have
one.
him too. Fourth round. Yep.
151, I went with D Winters, inside linebacker at TCU. And then with the 154th pick still in the fifth round, I went Mike Morris, defensive end, Michigan. And then the 198th pick, sixth round, Anthony Bradford, offensive guard, LSU. And then with their final pick in the seventh, 237, I went Travis Dye, running back, USC. Kevin, what do you got?
Who I'd like them to pick in the second round, more defense, essentially. Some players I like. I do like there's a defensive end. He's also can be a defensive tackle if he wants to. I'm gonna totally butcher the name on him. Adebawore out of Northwestern.
Northwestern. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
He had a really good combine. His tape's solid.
That is a tough name. That is a tough
There
name.
are some tough names.
Yeah, that is a tough name.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah, the whole
I'm
first
brave of you, Kevin. I have written down. I was not gonna try it. I was not gonna try it.
Adito Miwa Adebawore.
That's pretty close. That's from what people say.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
His tape was solid, and like he had a really good combine. So, and we do need a defensive end slash tackle. So it's just more D-line depth. Drew Sanders out of Arkansas, I think would be really good. I like his size and speed. His tape was solid. I really like I said, take a center. Like second, third round is like the time to take a center, and you need to take a center. So as Sean already mentioned, Schmitz out of Minnesota would be a good pick there. There was another. Oh God, sorry, I had to like scroll down here.
There was another center
too.
You could take him with your second.
Avila out of TC. Actually, TCU might be the dude that if they do take one, because they like TCU guys. I don't know why. Like Pete keeps going to the TCU. Well, I don't. So I wouldn't be surprised if
go through it quick, Kevin. I got a bunch of names here. I'm gonna go through. Real fast.
And then third round, I only went up to third round. By the way, I didn't do a full. Just how many picks do we have? Do we only have one?
10.
No, in the third.
Oh, in the third one.
Oh, third. One.
We have one.
2 first, 2 second, 1 third.
What about mid? I would say you probably want to take a corner by then, just to have extra depth. Clark Phillips out of Utah, would be solid.
I have Clark Phillips out of Utah too. Yep.
He has the size to where he can be both outside and slot. And they really need a slot. Well, I don't even know what the hell they're doing at slot now. Like, so might as well. But if they did go, I would say they're probably going to go because Pete likes Texas guys. So Jalen Jones wouldn't be bad. He's another DB. But if you're going to keep going, you could take a wide receiver here. In this area, you're probably looking at either Rice out of SMU or Jones out of Purdue. I like Jones's tape from what I saw. I thought his hands were good. I thought he had pretty decent speed. Route running was pretty solid for the most part. So in a third round pick, I would be okay. I don't want us taking a receiver before this. A lot of people want us to because they're like, oh, Tyler's getting old and stuff like that. I'm like, Tyler's still until Tyler's wheels fall off. We really don't need to put a high priority on finding, and it doesn't look.
I want a wide receiver because I don't want to wait till the wheels fall off. Personally, You know,
I don't think they will.
they have
Tyler's
two
very smart with
solid
his
players,
body.
and I understand that. But like you said, the slot wide receiver has been a revolving door, and I would like to get a guy in there to
Because they
maybe
don't
see if he's a
pass
future.
enough.
That's all.
Pass more, then it becomes
Yeah.
an issue.
But I mean, if you're going to a more passing offense with this,
Then
then
draft one.
sure.
Till then, we're not
Yeah,
having the
go and
conversation.
do it. But you've already wasted so many draft picks on like high picks on the guy you thought was going to be it, and then you didn't pass enough. Like you only had what's his name do like a couple of jet sweeps for you, and he's done nothing else. I mean, yeah, he's been hurt, but like anytime you did use him, you only use him in like maybe an eighth of the game on random jet sweeps or bubble screens. I'm like, that's no. I'm like, he needs to be more involved if you're going to put a high round pick at that position to do that type of stuff. And Tyler's very smart with his body. He gets down when he needs to. Like the injury last year was just kind of a fluke thing, and he was only out for like what, a week, 2 weeks at most. Like Tyler's smart. He knows that if he's going over the middle and he sees the linebacker, his butt's getting down on the ground. He's gonna get his yards and get down because he's not the biggest dude, which makes him smart. So I know Seahawks fans hate it, and there's been times where I've been like, oh, you need to kind of push for it, but at the same time too, I want Tyler to play every week. So it's yeah.
Am I ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So first round, again, hopefully Richardson, and then we got oh gosh, what did I even say? I wrote it down. I didn't say
Van Ness, Iowa.
no, can't see the Pittsburgh guy. And then second round. So I like a lot of people. I'm going to list them off. I'm going to go to Tulu, and then I'm going to go Brian Brees in the second round, both tackles. Boom, boom. Third round, probably need some help here. I really like actually Semaforia, tight end out of Iowa, but I don't think they're. I'm hoping Schmitz can last. I don't think he does. So at this point, I take Keenly, the linebacker, WSU, second, third round pick. I take. I really like Kevin Clark's Phillips call there. The
I mean,
cornerback
second round pick.
Or we only have. Oh, that's right. Gosh, I keep getting that confused. We have 2 fourth round picks. I'm going to take Henry, the Alabama guy, Matthew, the linebacker, the Alabama guy, the guy. I'm not going to butcher your name. I'm so sorry. And then I like Gavin Dexter, Florida defensive tackle, because Byron can go outside. So you just need help. You need so much help there. And then we have 2 fifth-round guys. I really like. It's gonna sound crazy. I like Eric Gray out of Oklahoma, running back. I would really like him in the 5th. He's projected to go higher than that, but if he drops all the way to the 5th, that's totally fine with me. And then I like Trey Tucker, Cincinnati wide receiver, the other pick in the 5th. Then we go 6th round. Let's see here. I got Ryan Hayes, Michigan, tackle, but I think he plays as a guard. He'll go into guard. And then 7th round pick. Oh, I had a free agent guy that I wanted. Darius Jackson, wide receiver. Oh, and I'll just take him in the 7th. I have a bunch of guys that I like here, but I guess I could just stop saying their names. But I like both Michigan guys. Baron Daniels, Utah, Matthew Bryson, Syracuse. Tank Dell, Houston. I like him in the 2nd. Zay Flowers, I really like him, man. But first round's too high. Jackson Smith, obviously Ohio State, too high first round. But Michael Wilson, Stanford wide receiver, 4th or 5th round. He'd be really great. Said most of my guys here. Nolan Smith, Isaiah McKenzie, Missouri defensive lineman. I looked at Cam Jones, Indiana, 5th or 6th round linebacker. Safety Jordan Howard, he can go in the 7th. I think it'd be the 7th round pick. Then Devontae Banks, Maryland. Kevin already mentioned him in the 1st. Christian Gonzalez in the 1st. Cam Mitchell, Northwestern, 1st corner would be awesome. Byron Banstow, get him the 2nd, Alabama. Riley Moss, white corner, get him in like the 5th round. Not so bad, Jason Sehorn style. And Mikael Blackman, USC, 6th round. I like him as a corner as well. I just really quickly threw a bunch of names out there.
My ideal scenario, players aside, draft a quarterback to sit behind Geno for a year, get a linebacker or 2 would be preferable to learn from Bobby for this next year.
You don't have to get them early though.
I'm not saying early. I'm saying at some point, get a couple linebackers. Let them learn from Bobby.
And Henry and Damian, both 2 linebackers there.
Let these young guys learn from your very talented veteran linebacker and your quarterback with a lot of experience. Let them learn, and if they get thrown in, and then they're in the fire. You know, we had a lot of rookies do that last year, and they held their own for the most part. So we'll see how the draft
They did
goes.
early. They did early.
And right now the Kraken are in overtime. It is 2-2, and Jaden Schwartz just got tripped up with the shot there. I don't know if that's power play or not, but they're
Looks
showing a
like a power
replay, so it
play.
looks like it's power play. So with that, we will probably get to some other topics next time. Seattle Sea Dragons are in the XFL playoffs, so we'll have to talk about that. But that is all the time we have this week. We will see you next time on Washington East to West Sports. Bring back our Sonics, please.